All right. Hi, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Thank you guys so much for joining us. I hope you all are having a wonderful day so far. Today, we are going to review the new campaign enhancements. And then after we do that, I will hand it over to Matt, and he will talk about using images on your website to provide better SEO and also to kind of combat any negative issues that you might run into with images. So if you guys have any questions while we are talking about this stuff, please just put it in the chat and we will get those answered. So let's get into it. This is kind of our dummy account. So we have a handful of campaigns set up here where I can show you how to use these new features without causing any issues on our own site. But so I'm going to talk about, I had covered some of this in the last users group, but I didn't get really into what is different. I talked about what was new, but there were some things that you'll notice have changed, and I want to make sure we kind of thoroughly cover what those changes are and what you can expect from that. So previously, in your campaigns, you had the option to include multiple tags for a campaign. You'll see now it's kind of grayed out here, but the reason being is I can't change this tag. The include tags have been updated to all have the word campaign : and then whatever the title of your actual campaign is. So if you're wondering, well, what happened to all the other tags that I had in here? How do I know that people are getting on the right campaigns? Those are great questions, and I want to make sure we cover those. So what happened to your existing tags is that they still exist within DSS. All of your tags are still there. We haven't touched the tag itself. It is still assigned to anyone that you had assigned that tag to. And really, the only difference is anyone who was on this campaign before with any one of your existing tags now has this campaign : campaign title tag in addition to those existing tags. So this has kind of replaced the functionality of that tag within a campaign. But again, your tags still exist. And if you had any tags previously that had the title campaign : because you were just thinking ahead like a real genius, you will notice that that tag now has an underscore right in front of the word campaign. If you don't see this, don't worry about it. There's nothing to do. It's just a heads up for anybody wondering why they might have a little bit different of a campaign tag than they had started out with. So again, all of your tags still exist. We've just replaced the one on the campaign itself. You can also now exclude tags from a campaign. So this is a really helpful feature if you have multiple campaigns running and you don't want people on two campaigns at the same time. You can make sure to exclude one campaign from the other. Now, after a campaign has run its course, if you have an exclude tag on a campaign, it will continue to exclude this group from receiving that campaign. So I can show you what to do to make sure that you can transition people from one campaign to the next in just a second here. So this is another awesome new thing that you'll see in the campaign section. It is an update to the way your campaign sequences work. You can still schedule out your campaign emails as you have been in the past, but now you can also add tags or remove tags. And this is how you will, move people from one campaign to the next. So you'll see here under this campaign, I've excluded the campaign My New Campaign. But once this campaign finishes running, I have included a sequence to remove the campaign tag for this current campaign, Car Accident 3. And then I have included a sequence to assign the tag campaign My New Campaign. So anybody who wasn't getting it before will now be getting the My New Campaign sequence. So you can go in here and adjust any of these things. You can edit them. You can delete them from the sequence. You can leave them in the sequence, as expected, but you have the option to assign or remove your tags, assign or remove your attributes, and then of course, send your emails as you have been. So the other cool thing that you'll see with the new CRM enhancements is that you can, on an individual contact record, you can adjust what it is that you want to have happen for that individual contact. So, Molly really shouldn't be getting the general newsletter. So I've set that one sequence to inactive, and I don't want to put her on this new campaign. So I'm also going to set that sequence to inactive. But for everybody else, I want them to get that tag, and I want them to be on this new campaign. So those are, two really cool new ways to handle your sequences for individual contacts as well. And then, you heard me talk about this, and I'll keep it simple. The tags and attributes are something that we had mentioned before. So you now have the option to, in addition to your tags, you can create something called an attribute, which functions exactly the same way, but its purpose is different. So an attribute is really just for categorizing or organizing your contacts. You cannot send email communications with an attribute, but this helps to kind of declutter your list of tags when you are going to tag people for an email blast or a campaign or whatever the case. You now have the option to kind of organize by attribute or tag and send email communications with tags. But those are really the two big differences now with the campaigns are the option to include, exclude, and the tags and attributes. So if you guys have questions, please feel free to put them in the chat and I will get to them. But that's kind of my piece on the new CRM updates. And again, if you have really specific questions about what's going on in your CRM specifically, you can always reach out to us. I'm Molly at fosterwebmarketing.com. He's Matt at fosterwebmarketing.com. And then, of course, you can reach out to tickets at fosterwebmarketing.com if you want to get some training from Joanna. But that is that. So, Matt, I will pass it over to you now.
Yay. All right. So now I get to do the fun stuff. I've got some cool tools. I know I've talked about images, and some of this will be a retread at the end, but I've got a new tool, and something I'd like everyone to kind of work on is this idea of an image audit. So going in, especially people who have older websites before anyone gave a damn about image size or anything like that, I've got a bit of a process for you on how to find images. And we're going to really start with images that you have uploaded. So not stuff on the website, like some header images. Certain things might be big just for style purposes. That might be a later round, checking up on that. But I'm really talking about images that you have uploaded into DSS. So you may have just pulled it off a site and just put it up there and didn't do anything with it. But we're going to show you how to fix that. So what I would like to introduce you to is this beautiful thing. If I can show my screen first. All right, is this just absolutely awesome program called Screaming Frog. Now, Screaming Frog is free up to 500 URLs. So if you've got a much bigger site, you may need to get the free trial or pay for a month and then cancel it. I don't know exactly what their program is, but it's a really cool tool. It's overwhelming. It finds every bit of data. It'll crawl everything. And really all you have to do is once you download it, it's an app that's actually on your web or on your desktop, is you just put in the URL here and hit crawl, and it'll go through and it'll crawl it. Now, some of this stuff is very high level nerdy information on URLs and mixed content and chronological orders, all kinds of things. But let me tell you what you guys should do with it. And I actually have a little short thing here. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to scan using the Screaming Frog limited to 500 pages. Then I want you to go to, on this page, come over here to images. Now, once you click on images, and what this is looking, if you look at the URL, it says upload in it. So it's saying that this image was uploaded into DSS. Now, your images are naturally going to come looking like this. So it's a whole lot of different types of images, stuff that we've put on there, thumbnails. I'm really focusing on images you put on your website because I'm pretty sure if you did it before the last 6 months, they're probably not fully optimized. So now this is scanning every image that it is found on a page. It's got different information about formats, what I'll get into, sizes, different pages that it's on. Really is a good tool. But for your purposes, you will want to do /upload. So we're looking for upload, right? Like that's the URL we're really kind of focusing on for this particular audit. Now, once you come into here, there's some more data that we can go ahead and find. Now, if we come down here to this in link down here at the bottom, I'll actually show the other pages that it is on. So if you've got an image that like this one here is across multiple different practice areas and library pages, you know that it's on multiple pages, and I've got a step for that because to me that means they probably just uploaded it from the browser in DSS. It's not like they were hand doing it probably every single time. So we want to go back
just to kind of touch on the importance of this stuff. Like I think that people, part of the reason we wanted to talk about this today is like people upload images to their site all the time. You've been doing it for years. And while it may not seem like doing it once or twice is going to be the end of the world, which it's not, you have done it more than once or twice. And you've got to be honest with yourself here. You've uploaded images that are way too large. You've left out alt tags. You've had the image just be image_872. And these things are all missed opportunities or actually negative impacts in terms of your ability to utilize that image to actually serve your SEO purposes. So I just wanted to kind of talk about the why for a second, because I know we're jumping right into how to perform the image audit. So I didn't mean to interrupt you, Matt, but these are important steps, even though they feel kind of, I won't say unimportant, but they feel a little bit tedious. Yes,
it's annoying.
They're definitely tedious.
Look, I fully understand everyone. You've just spent several hours writing content. You just want to upload it, hit publish, and I'm about to tell you, but this is an audit. So this is a separate thing, but optimizing, which I'll get into, but I have heard it is annoying. I do it. If I'm on a page that I'm like, whatever, it's a landing page, I don't care about the SEO, I'm just putting it on there. But you know, you don't want to build really bad habits. But the other side of this, like Molly was saying, is the SEO side too, with Google's new page speed update. One of the big things that they look at, I mean, that's one of the main draggers of any website, especially older ones, or if you're not really optimizing the images or you're not compressing them, you know, they'll going to be slow. Two things: they're slow to load, and from a business perspective, Google doesn't want to have to store billions of images that are gigantic that aren't being served. So from their perspective, if they could get you to slim down 5% of your images, you know, how many billions of dollars are you saving them in server fees and kind of management of that type of information? So it's faster, and from Google's business perspective, you got to think they really want to get it done. So cool thing, this end link is kind of showing us all the other places that it's linked. It's showing us the alternative text on those links, which is important for optimization. Now, another thing you can do is click on image details, and it'll actually show you the image. So when you go to a page, say a page has multiple images, well, then, you know, it's going to be a problem. Trying to figure out which one is the one that's too big. Well, this will kind of let you know, hey, when you go to this page, this is the image that you should be looking for. So we kind of found what images we have, where they're at, how they're placed. Next thing you're kind of look at is the content type, and really JPEG is really what we want here. PNG is okay. it's not going to hurt you, but there's an issue with PNG can only be compressed so much, because that's a big part of image optimization, is uploading an image that looks good that is compressed. And JPEGs are just not, I believe, as good as, or PNGs are not as good as JPEGs at compressing. There's some really weird language, loosey. It gets really confusing. Needless to say, JPEG is the preferred format. So something we'll talk about a little bit is, do you replace a JPEG or a PNG for a JPEG, even if it's not a big issue? But we'll kind of get into that. Size is the next big thing, mostly measured in kilobytes. If you see an M back here, your image is way too big. We'll get into a little information about the sizing as well. So this is how you kind of use the tool: is you scan it, scan your site, go to images. You want to, kind of go one by one in these and say, okay, this image, it's a JPEG, cool. Don't got to really worry about format too much. Size, it's 107, not too bad. It's pretty good. Then it's indexable. Great. So it's on 2 different pages. Here it is. So if this was a bad one, let's find a bad one. Let's find one that maybe is a little bit too, let's find, yeah, so it looks like some of his book images are going in a little bit too big. So not too bad. See, that one's really small. But how this works is you want to go ahead and grab a URL. And if you want to check it out, you're like, all right, I want to place this one because it's the wrong file size or the wrong file type, and it's too big. You would just go ahead, go to search the page. This is kind of the simple way to do it. There's plenty of ways to do this, but you come to the page. This is the way I would do it, is just save the image on your computer, and then I'll get to kind of how to optimize. But that's really the tool. It's scan the site, look at the information, read the data, and then decide if you should then go to the page and work on it. Now, something to think about when it comes to, so a couple things about sizing. So image should never be larger than 500. That's really big. Now, it's not to say you can't. Like if you've got this just beautiful picture of a mountainside and some Colorado vacation you just took, which I'm about to go to in a week, put it up there in absolute max. Like who cares about this one page? Like we're talking about SEO and across the entire website. So if you just have a beautiful image you don't want to reduce and you just want to maximize everything for someone on a retina screen iPad because it's like twice as many megapixels, go ahead and do it. But for blogs and most of 90% of what we're going to do on our websites, 500 is just way too big and kind of general rule of thumb. And none of this is set in stone, right? This is just like, hey, if you can get an image to these sizes and it still looks good, do it. If not, if it's 100 megapixels over, so be it, but you want it to look good. But just general rule of thumb, and you want to think about what the image is used for. So if you've just kind of got an image in a blog somewhere between 50 to 150, full page top, you're looking at about 250, but that can go up to 500. So there's plenty of room for that. Now it gets a little, we don't really have light boxes and things that pop out, but there is some kind of subtlety to the images because, say, a light box, right? Thumbnail's this big. When it pulls up, it pulls out that big. So you got to make sure that the pixels and everything are adjusted to when it grows, it's to that size. So there's always some nuance depending on how the image is shown. That's a general idea of the sizes. Talked about clicking on the end links. Look if it's assigned to multiple pages. You can click on the image for more details. Now, so you found ones you don't like. Download. We're going to optimize. Well, this is more a brand new image, but the general idea with image optimization is you want to download the image for the what's relevant for the content. So if you're talking about an injured foot, you want to talk about picture of an injured foot. If you're going to be talking about a brain injury, and picture of a brain injury, someone holding their head. So relevant information. So a relevant picture. And you also want to think about where you're putting it on the page, right? If you're going to do a full head at the top, well, then pick the larger image. You know, if you're going to do kind of a smaller one, pick a smaller image, like 500. You know, general. I think I have it on here. And Molly probably does this better. This is kind of the general rule I run with, and Molly's about to throw up, but generally, I will say this 1,000 times. Full page, somewhere between 2,500 to 1,200, half page, 500, 350, thumbnail, 350 to 250. But it just depends on, really, it's your website. That's the main thing you want to do for the images. This is like a true general idea of, you know, like a full top header image on a beautiful full page site. Maybe you want a little bit bigger, but the way I prefer to do it is when you have an image on a page like this, you can always just go in, and this is Chrome, so I just do right click, inspect the image, and it'll kind of show you, you know, what megapixels, or let's see, yeah, there's. So here we can see that this particular image, you can look in the code, this gets a little nerdy, is 375 megapixels by 250 megapixels. So you say, okay, this is a good fit. Like, this is how it fits nicely on this page. So you want to try to fit it to that particular size. Now you can adjust it within DSS. I always recommend to adjust outside of DSS first. It's just a little bit easier, I think, and you can kind of work
definitely, yeah, resize outside of DSS, and you know, if you need to tweak a little bit in DSS, that works, but don't try and resize it in DSS because you're still loading the entire image into DSS, and so all it's doing is kind of reducing the space it's taking up on that page, but it's not actually compressing the image size at all, the image file size. So I just put in the chat a link to TinyPNG, which does compress images. If you're looking for something quick and easy to use, you can also resize in like Microsoft Paint. Like they make it really easy to do this. So just make sure your images are a reasonable size before you upload them.
All right, so pick the relative image for the page, compress the image. TinyPNG is a good one. Image compressor is a good one. There's lots of these different ones out there. TinyPNG is good. Image compressor, if you're doing multiple images, it does a little bit, it doesn't limit you as much, but both tools work really well. Now, once you have uploaded that image, download that particular image, save it as the file name for what you are targeting. So as we saw here, for the alt text, if it is an image, you know, about a car accident or about a book or a guide or whatever it may be, name the file name, the keyword you're going after. So you're going to put it on a page about brain injuries in Montana. Name the file brain injuries Montana. You know, whatever it may be, make sure that you name the file name as close to the keyword that you are targeting as possible.
Something just to note about utilizing alt text and alt tags. So if you're unfamiliar, this is basically for people who have screen readers or can't see images. The alt text provides context for people to understand what the image is. So it would say, you know, an image of a patient who is in the hospital for a brain injury in Montana. And that is another opportunity to kind of, you know, utilize keywords. You don't want to keyword stuff. You don't want to fake it. You don't want to do the thing that we seem to do with all kind of helpful hints and clues about SEO, which is like try and game the system, this is not going to have the outcome that you want it to. And Google and all search engines, their ultimate goal is to provide the best user experience, the most helpful responses for somebody doing a search. So they haven't made any formal statement about this, but I highly suspect that at some point it's going to play a bigger role in SEO, having that alt text that is well written and actually descriptive is going to be weighted in search results, is my, I think, not so radical prediction, but just as something to think about when you're adding these. I think a lot of people skip it. I think a lot of people think they can just kind of jot down whatever and it'll be fine. But, this is part of ADA compliance, is making your website accessible to everyone. And so I think it's going to have a bigger weight at some point.
Yeah, for sure. And the way I describe it to people is just how I said, brain injury, Montana, your alternative text should be attorney meeting with a brain injury victim in Montana. Try to work those same keywords in, but be descriptive in the way that you do it. You also want to update the file format. And that brings me back to, if you do this scan and you have PNGs that are like 100 megapixels, could you change it to a JPEG and reduce it by like 20? Probably. Is it worth it going through all of those steps just for a couple? Probably not. But if you're talking about purely optimizing the website as much as possible, yeah, every image should be compressed to its best ability. But if you've just got a bunch of PNGs, which was the standard for a very long time, everybody thought they were the bee's knees with the PNGs. That was good. But now the JPEGs are preferred. So you kind of have to make that decision: is it worth the effort of going back and doing it versus, if it's a big one, like if it's over 150 or it's above 100, yeah, go in and compress it. But you just have to kind of make a judgment call on, is it worth it to go back and do it? From SEO's perspective, yes, it's always worth it to go back and do it. But you really want to stick with the biggest files first. Now, to change the file format, I've just always used Adobe. Their was it Lightbox? Their little, yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, they whenever you save it, you can kind of export it in PNG, big ones, reduced, whatever it may be. There's lots of different things that you can use to change the format of the image, like when you go to save it. Resizing images for their intended use is also important. We talked a little bit about this. Use image inspector to check the size. So that's just right-clicking on the image, at least in Chrome. You find an image and the way it fits on a page, it looks good. You find that and you're like, all right, for my website, the way it is formatted, for whether you're version 2 or version 5, they're all going to be maybe a little bit different depending on your side modules and whether it's single column, whatever it may be. But find a size that works best on your site and run with it. This is general thumb. Oh yeah. So let me just, for anyone who is not familiar with alt tags, whenever you are adding an image to a page, select where it is. We'll hit our little button here. And then whenever you will either upload an image, or I'm sure a lot of people don't know that you can do this. You can actually go in and select images that are already uploaded to the site. So this is what I'm saying. If you find an image that's on like 5 pages or something, upload it to the site, to that new page, and then come in here. And I would actually, when you go to those other pages, you don't have to keep re-downloading that one image. I would just go to that page and just take that. If you just want to put that same image, you just come to your browser and go ahead and insert that same image. So you don't have to redo it 5 times if that image is across 5 different pages. And we'll go ahead, and this is where we type in all alternative text, and it'll just go ahead and tag it and people switch it up. It's an alt tag, alternative text. They're kind of interchangeable. So that's it.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt. So do you guys have any questions? Anything that you feel like was not covered? If you're curious about kind of the SEO behind it, I think it's becoming more evident when you do things like search for something in Google and then click images, and you start to see images that have these file names with the keywords that you're using, things like that, helps kind of shed light on how this can play into your ability to rank for certain keywords. And, you can't rely on your alt text and your images having those keywords in them to actually rank for those keywords. But this can help. I think all things being equal, this can help kind of give you the boost over somebody else or something else that exists that is also targeting that same keyword. So it's not a solution for all of your SEO needs, but it's definitely kind of added little boost to kind of get you where you're trying to go. So
the help in the aggregate.
Great.
You do it, if you got 300 pages with images and then all of a sudden you add that, or if you have a page that ranks, it's optimization. 80% of SEO is content. Optimization is the last 20%. So you've got a page, you've got it updated, you rank 10th, and you're like, what do I need to do to push this up a little bit? One of the many things, from working H1s, H2s, internal links and internal keyword in the body structure, adding an image that is compressed, so that's fast uploading with the file name and the alt tag in it, is one of those many different on-page optimization steps you would take. And I'm sure there are lots of people that have really great pages, just missing that one little element. It's not going to make the world different. It's not it's not pay-per-click. It's not like I do this one thing and everything's going to change. It's you do it. But now next month, when you add your 4 pieces of content a month, you're going to add 4 new images with alt tags that are fast as well. So you're adding 1/10 more stuff when you do that.
Yeah. And for anybody who is looking for places to get images that are kind of specific to them or branded to them, for social media purposes, Canva is a really great option. And then we use a service called Design Pickle, and I have had a really great experience working with them. They have, typically for us, it takes about 24 hours for them to turn around a pretty simple design request. And we use them just to create images that are specific to content that we are writing, and also happen to include our branding. So it keeps our content looking consistent. It gives us an opportunity to add images, again, using alt text and just having a visual aid for anything that we're adding to the site. But those are 2 really good options for you if you're looking for something to use on your website or on social media. There's another one. Thank you, Megan. You sent it to the panelists. I'm just going to copy it and send it to all the attendees too. This is great. That's a really helpful thing to know. So thank you very much. That's Megan who included that. So yeah, lots of great features. There's tons of free stock images, or you can pay for a subscription for stock images and utilize them as much as you'd like. And sometimes they have exactly what you're looking for, and sometimes they don't quite hit the mark. But either way, you've got an image, a visual representation on your site, and you can, if you have any design chops, you can edit it to kind of look the way you want it to or fit your needs. So thank you very much.
I have one last thing, something I've been using recently, just started using this, but it's in the Adobe suite. It's something called Spark. And it is, let me just show this real quick. It's pretty cool because I am not a design guy, but it's got a bunch of templates and things already in it, or it's got different images that will fit into the social media. Different social medias, it's kind of got the preset sizing for some of these things, but it's got templates. You can kind of brand it. It's got really good tutorials for stuff. I just found this to be a pretty good DIY design thing that does most of the work for you, because I am not an illustrator by any stretch of the imagination.
That's great. You could also get a Jackie for if you have any design. We have Jackie on our team who helps with any and all design needs that we have. So
and Jackie is joining the coaching team.
That's right. And she recommends Spark, which is very similar to Canva. If you're already using the Adobe suite of products, she recommends that. And then we have a great question from, I think it's Glebe is how you pronounce it. I'm not sure. I apologize if I butchered that. But the question is, heavy images from past entries can work negatively for SEO matters, even for new content. So if you're putting up a new blog post or article, can these heavier images or past images work negatively against you now, which is a great question. The answer to that is kind of yes. I don't want to like scare everybody into thinking that they have to go delete all of the images off of their site, but yeah. So even if you're posting new content, which, you know, the goal is to rank for the new content, you want to continue ranking for your existing content too. If that content is not serving you, then you need to do a content audit. But hopefully you're still ranking for those pages that you've created in the past. And if those pages have really large image files, or if there's somebody who, you know, has a better optimized page on the same topic, which includes image optimization, then they might outrank you. So we do highly recommend, you know, going back through your existing content and identifying images that are either massive in size and are slowing down the page speed for that specific page, or don't have alt text, or don't have a really appropriate file name to identify what the file actually is. We do recommend going back and optimizing these things and auditing the images that you have, because it can, you know, it can have a negative impact. And it's not, again, as we've kind of beaten the topic to death, all SEO really is just like optimization. So it's usually not one thing that's going to make or break your site, but it's a series of little things. And if you let the series of little things go and continue to build up, then eventually they become a series of a lot of things, and they're a large thing at that point. So yeah, we do recommend going back, auditing your images. Cool. Okay, I think that is it for questions. Again, if you guys have specific questions about your campaigns or CRM updates, your images, you can feel free to reach out to either of us. But thank you guys so much for joining us, and we will see you next month. Thanks, everyone.